Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, based on wherever you're tuning in from. How are you guys today on this beautiful, what is it? Child, what's today? Wednesday, July 30th, Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Look, I'm rushing the week away. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the comments. Hey, Kaya and Kayla's mom. Welcome to the chat. Today I want to share some I'm going to say it's rather disturbing. Some rather disturbing information that was recently released as it relates to Sean Grayson. Some of you may know who Sean Grayson is just by me saying his name. This is the name of the officer who was recently thrust into the news for unaliving Sonia Massey. Now, the alarming information that I have is one of his reprimands while employed, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in Logan, but we'll verify that once the recording begins. Guys, this is just a recording. There's no video, so you will just be hearing straight audio from this meeting that Grayson had with his superiors. So let me cut the music. I'm going to try not to interrupt as much as possible, but of course, I will interject where I see fit. Let's get into it. Let's get into this. Okay?
Okay. What I understand isn't. I guess I'm not understanding. Recording started. It is Wednesday, November 9th at 8:56. I am in my office. I am Nate Miller, Chief Deputy for the Logan County Sheriff's Office. Present in this room is
Lieutenant Michael Block.
Deputy Grayson. Deputy Sean Grayson. So he asked if he needed union or legal representation. I just showed him section 15.2 probationary period, which goes through that there is no legal representation offered or required for a probationary officer. He has read that. He had a question about it. Sean, what's your questions on that?
I just asked if I needed a union rep. That was all.
No. So what that clause says under your probationary year, there's no representation required, and you're an at-will employee.
Okay.
So, Sean, may I call you Sean?
Yes.
Before we get into it, did we not have a meeting a few months ago in the Blue Room with Lieutenant, myself, Corporal Becker, and yourself?
Yes, we did.
Did we not have a conversation? We'll call that the hug meeting, because that's what I refer to it as. And I have been very professional and very pointed with all of our employees, but let's talk about you specifically. Did I not say you have a choice to either be a beacon and follow orders and to be that guy that brings everybody up and to be a leader, or you can go the other direction and cause issues. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember during that conversation that we had issues with your accuracy on your reports, and we encouraged you to review your reports? We encouraged you to go over all the cases pending in the chute, if you will, and to make sure that everything's accurate, because we talked about Giglio, and we talked about how nobody in this agency is going to Giglio. And it's my absolute mission to ensure that we put forth the best reports and the best foot forward as far as accuracy, and we don't ever get questioned on our integrity, because integrity can never be recovered.
Yes, I was given a list of reports that needed details fixed on it.
Do you remember during that meeting, and just in passing, one time I was outside, I believe, this office. I had a conversation with you, and we talked about it in the meeting also, that our supervisors are supervisors. We follow a chain of command. If they give you an unlawful or unethical order, in our policy, it can be challenged, but it has to be challenged appropriately and professionally. But you should always follow lawful and legal orders and have decorum when it comes to that. And we were talking about yourself and Corporal Hoff and others. You remember having those conversations?
I remember talking about the chain of command. I don't remember that exactly stated.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not trying, but I do remember you talking about the chain of command. You said you need to respect your chain of command. You need to respect the corporals, the sergeants, and the lieutenant, chief, sheriff, all the way up and all the way down.
And we shall respect you also, because it goes both ways. In order for an agency to be moving forward, we have to respect each other.
Now, for him to have this conversation with his superiors, you heard the superiors say that they've already touched on, different things that are needed for him to achieve his position and be a good law enforcement officer.
Go through some general questions. How many years or months have you been with Logan County Sheriff's Office?
7 months now. I got hired May 1st, so I think 7 months now. It'd be 7 months now.
You're on your 7th, right?
Yes.
How many years as a police officer how many years have you been a police officer?
2 years and some change.
What agencies have you worked for?
Pawnee, Kincaid, Burden, Auburn. I was working multiple agencies at once.
Pawnee, Kincaid, Auburn, and
Burden. And then here.
What academy did you go to?
I went to the NTU 10 in Springfield.
So it's a part-time academy?
Yes. And then I did my 2-week transition academy down in Fallon at SWIC.
Yeah. How'd you like that one?
It's not a good academy. It's not a good academy. They're gonna get people killed.
Since you brought that up, do you realize that we've had conversations about following orders and policies and procedures, and we've had training, we've implemented training, because I understand the risks that everybody faces, and we have this training, and we give these orders for a reason.
And I agree, and I see that. And prime example, one of my buddies that was at Swick with me got shot and killed. We're not killed, he got shot twice and almost died, and that was like a couple weeks after Swick training. That's who taught our high-risk traffic stops, things like that. So.
And you definitely remember the conversation about honoring chain of command, orders, policies, and accuracy of report writing, correct?
Yes.
You've been involved in you were a military individual, correct, right?
Yes.
How long were you in the military?
It was 2 years.
Big Army?
Yeah, it was active duty.
So it wasn't National Guard?
No, it was actual active duty. I was stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas.
And I know I've said this before, thank you for your service. And you definitely understand after our conversation in the Blue Room that day, how easy it is to get Giglio.
Yes.
Do you remember when I was talking about Giglio, how I have no place to put empty holsters if somebody gets Giglio because we're not a large agency? I can't put somebody in a position to do just press releases, if you will. Right? Do you remember those conversations?
Yes.
While we were at that meeting, do you remember that I asked you to calm down because you were angry? You seemed agitated.
I honestly wasn't actually. That's just how I chew gum. I know it's terrible, but that's just how I chew gum. If I had gum in right now, I'd be chomping the same way. I'm not angry or agitated or anything. Honestly, I didn't know what the meeting was about. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about it. So I, kind of go in and figure out what we're going to talk about there at the moment.
Well, let's ask this. Do you have any idea what this meeting's about?
No, just other than the email, you said there was 3 policies we're going to cover.
Well, we're actually going to cover more, because as I got digging into it and realizing with the short 7 months you've been here, I still have to do the pursuit review, so we're going to talk about that in the crash. And we're just going to cover everything, mention the DUI arrest that you had.
Which my personal one or
The pursuit
oh,
with Dalton Guy.
okay. There's something new come up with that one. That was the main one I think that was the main one that we talked about at that meeting.
After. You and I talked about it also after Diamondback training, because you had a question about the triple S or the double S.
So our meeting was after Diamondback training.
You and I discussed that one at Diamondback. And then we did have a meeting in the Blue Room.
I'm confused.
I'll get
Okay.
I'll get to it.
I'm sorry. I got really confused. I didn't.
Do you remember me explaining the direct order to you and the corporal about wearing uniform anytime that we were in,
Yes. You said yes.
called in for overtime? If you're on our time, you wear your uniform unless told otherwise.
Yes, you stated that if we're. Yeah, it was stated that if you're being paid and you're on the clock, yes, you shall be in uniform. Or not a shall, you must be in uniform.
It was a shall. Okay, because I use shall a lot. Because that way there's no
Right, I just thought,
misunderstanding.
okay, I just thought it was a must, you must, I thought you said shall at first, but then changed it to a must.
Must, shall, all the same.
Sure.
And you understand that was a direct order to you and the corporal.
Yes.
Which you may not understand because it wasn't pertinent to you. Following that, at our section meeting that we have with our supervisory meeting, one of the topics was to all of our supervisors that you shall have a conversation with all of your patrol officers.
Mm-hmm.
And any time that we are paying you and you are receiving a paycheck, you shall be in your uniform of the day.
To be honest, that was never passed down.
Didn't have to be because I told you that directly that day with your corporal.
Correct.
That was a direct
I knew
order.
that, but okay.
That was a direct order.
Right.
So before we go any further on this, let's talk about Monday. Because this is a good prelude into Monday. As I was walking down the hallway,
Mhm.
I told Ms. Lanka, jokes aside, serious moment. I said it twice so he understands.
Mhm.
Because I do believe that we need to be professional but also have fun.
Right.
And I repeatedly, on 2 occasions at least, said, serious moment. Why are you here in general? Why are you here? For starts, I verified, why are you here?
Mhm.
I have a meeting with a state's attorney. Why are you not in uniform? At the same time, I've been told that you made a comment and your sergeant of the day, which is Bauer because he was there, kind of said, in other words, stay out of it. You didn't receive that. You didn't notice that he was doing it until he was by the camp. He was by the cop.
This is what I was directly told right after you walked out of the office. Sergeant Bauer looked at me and Ms. Lonkin and said, if the chief talks to you guys in that manner or at that manner, all you say is yes, chief. That is exactly what was said.
So you know that I gave you a direct order to be in uniform anytime that you're being paid.
Correct.
However, at this moment, you're on light duty, and we have allowed you to wear stuff that's comfortable because we appreciate you. We appreciate where you're at and what you're going through. So you're on light duty now. And if we can go back to earlier in this conversation, do you remember, because I know you do, because you already acknowledged it, be a positive leader.
Yes.
You chose to inject yourself into a disciplinary, very simple order that could have very easily been completed with, yes, sir, I'm sorry, I'm not in uniform, by the officer involved, not you.
Okay.
And he did say, I didn't know. So that's going to cause a conversation for this evening, which isn't pertinent to you. Because I want to know if orders weren't followed or if he just forgot them. Why did you do, which is a standard of conduct, violation? Why did you choose to challenge your chain of command on a lawful order?
I didn't see it as a challenge. I just asked if we could get an email right after Ms. Lonka stated that he didn't know. Because a lot of the new guys, Watts, Ms. Lonka, Lasanska, me, we didn't, until our meeting on that day, I didn't know I had to be in uniform for meetings and things. That's why I was asking, because I don't want to see other deputies get in trouble. I don't want to see them have to have the conversations I have to have. So if we can have one email that states, just like Bauer put out, this is, you must and shall have to be in uniform anytime you're on the clock.
So, as we sit here, pull up policy 200. Organizational structure and responsibility.
So are you going from the top or?
I'm just going to go through it because I think you have a good understanding. Are you familiar with this policy?
For the most part. This is the one I read after you sent that email. I read all the policies that you sent me in the email.
Okay. Prior to Monday, were you familiar with this policy?
For the most part.
Okay. succession of command. It gets into administrative divisions, operation divisions, criminal, orders. Members shall respond to and make a good faith and reasonable effort to comply with lawful orders of superior officers and other proper authority.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 200.3.3.
Yes.
And it goes on through. I mean, this is a common sense policy, right? That you're not really, this should not take you by surprise when it comes to unity of command, orders, the ability to follow them. And 200.3.3 actually says you shall basically, it does, shall respond to and make good faith. When a sergeant major tells somebody to do something, are you going to interfere with them?
No.
You're not going to interfere with the chief either. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Which you don't know, but I'll tell you, because I feel like I'm an honest person. I've been here 10 months, 11. And I give orders to deputies to be followed. I give orders to sergeants to be followed. Dare I say, I give orders to the lieutenant occasionally to be followed. Can we write down every order in real time? If it's an active scene in real time, can we write down every order?
It's doable. Yeah, I think it's
No, it is not. Active shooter, active situation.
in those times now.
And is it feasible in administrative world to write down every order? You would never leave your computer. And quite frankly, every deputy and every supervisor would never leave their computer. Do you think it's important for the chief to have trust in all of his supervisors that when I tell them to say something and to give that order, that I may be testing our supervisors also to ensure that that order is being followed out? A simple order, a common sense order, that if you're on the clock and your patrol function, your primary function is patrol. If I have my monthly meetings, which I do with my supervisors, and I give them a very simple order, and I think I'm pretty easy to understand, and I'll say, pick up your pens. You shall ensure that all your officers are in uniform anytime that they're being paid. Uniform of the day unless otherwise specified by court. That's the Class A. So Monday, if that order wasn't followed, I will find out and I will have that conversation. Because if I can't trust, for example, if the sheriff can't trust that everything he tells me isn't being followed through on, he doesn't have the time, nor should he have to, write down every situation. And it's a trickle down, right?
Correct.
If I can't trust my lieutenant, which I will tell you I trust immensely, his knowledge is unparalleled. And if I can't trust, because it goes down, if we can't trust our sergeants or corporals to relay simple information, then I need to have conversations with them. There's no difference. And I do understand now that you have, the way I'm perceiving this, this is just, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a straight up shooter. You have respect for a sergeant major in the big army, but you don't have respect for your chief on down in the little bitty sheriff's office.
I'd say I have the same respect for you. I wasn't trying to challenge you or anything like that. I just don't want to see anyone else get in trouble or pretty much just get in trouble for something we don't know or we haven't.
So there were issues with him following the chain of command and also showing the respect of the office held by his superiors. So I want to know how he stayed in his position at Logan County. This must have been when they, got rid of him.
And passed out. That's all.
We don't know if it has or hasn't been passed out. That is my job to find out. And then it's my job to have meetings with those other people to figure out why orders aren't being followed. Because they're lawful and just. But you chose. One, you weren't reading the temperature of the room very well at all.
I didn't know you had a conversation with inside the hallway. We were having a conversation about the trial that we were not the trial. Well, the trial that was coming up. We were talking and discussing that case. No, I did not read your sternness with Miss Lanka.
If we don't have order and professionalism, since you brought up Auburn, which is never smart because you don't work for Auburn. Is there more professionalism here than the other agencies you worked at?
I think Auburn was pretty professional in the way it was ran. I just don't think we had good. One, we didn't have any sergeants other than one that had 3 years on, and that was it. So we had no other leadership other than our chief, who was day shift, and we never saw him.
This is the first time in 27 years that I have seen somebody on light duty inject themselves into a standard conduct violation.
I didn't realize that. One, I didn't know you were disciplining him or having a disciplinary conversation.
It wasn't. It was an order that you shall wear your uniform. And were you aware of that? And his answer, we will discuss tonight with him. And that opens up more questions than I have for other people. You chose to inject yourself into a supervisory conversation unprofessionally and not smart. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Did you hear me say, all jokes aside, this is serious, this is a true conversation, to that effect? Ms. Lanka, where's your uniform?
I don't remember that being said. I heard you ask him, where's your uniform? And then you went in, and then you walked in and you said, why are you not in uniform?
From this day forward, I would hope you would teach other people, zip their lips. There's a proper way to address it, and there's an improper way to address it. And I will tell you, you nailed the improper way to do it. Scored an A on that one. Not the route you want to go.
I understand.
So you definitely understand policy 200 from here on forward about organizational structure and responsibilities.
Yes, sir.
And you definitely remember the conversation about being a positive leader, because I do believe you have those talents. You can be positive.
Try to be, for the most part.
But
I think that's why I was, I guess, asking for, and even though I knew, I understand what you're saying now, and I see what the way that you're approaching this, I didn't even know you told other supervisors that. I don't know anything that's said in the supervisor.
you don't have to be. You're a probationary troop or a deputy. And quite frankly, deputies don't have to know. I need to know that the orders that we are giving are being followed out. Because if we have a major incident, whatever it may be, I need to know when I'm talking to a subordinate, or quite frankly, when two deputies are talking and one of them is in charge. It's not an ego thing. It's a do you understand thing. If we have two deputies standing there and we have an active situation of dire need, and you're in charge of that scene and you give somebody an order, I need to know that they are capable of understanding the order and executing it. Because we do not need people, and I mean this, and I've never mixed words from the moment I interviewed you pre-employment. I do not need people that can't critically think and follow through with direction, because it will get people hurt, it will get you sued, and it will get you out of your business of law enforcement very quickly in today's world. We need critical thinkers that can also follow direction and know when and when not to say something. And we need them to be able to follow direction and act. And to think that we could write down every situation and every order would be asinine, right? There's just no way. It'd be like you stopping somebody coming from where you live, and I said, go out there and stop every violation that's in the IVC on the way. You won't make it to Elkhart. Common sense, man. That's what this business is about. And quite frankly, that's what our policies are about. It's common sense. We need to use our common sense and act on it, right? And I just want to reiterate, one person runs this agency. The others pick up oars and push that direction. This sounds bad. I don't care for your approval, one way or the other. Do you understand the importance of me giving orders to see if they follow?
Yes.
Because we have to be able to trust. Was that mine?
Didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's yours, yeah. Can I interject one thing just real quick?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Chief had asked a question about being able to put orders in writing, right? And your initial thought was in an office setting, right? Yes, absolutely. We can write it down and send it out, right? That's what you were looking for, right? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were in motor pool,
Yes.
right? Automotive trade, whatever.
Right.
You needed stuff. You needed money. You needed equipment. You needed a thing to be moved to a place or whatever. You filled out paperwork, right?
Yes.
Up the chain, right? To make sure that you got what you needed in order the thing got done, right? In that setting, I was there to witness this, but in that setting, would that not have been, as opposed to interjecting in the time, the right way to go? Hey, Sarge, can we get that in writing so that everybody's understood? Same process, right? You have the time to make the requisition, right?
Correct.
That would have been the great way to do it,
I see
as
that.
opposed to interjecting.
I see that now, yes.
And that's a good point. And do you understand the importance of me sending out simple verbal orders and seeing if they're followed?
Yes, I do. I see what you're saying, and I see where you're coming from on this now, and that's not how I intended it. I didn't.
So what this is going to be is a lesson to help you learn how to be a manager yourself and a leader. Anybody can be given a title. It doesn't mean it's respected. Anybody can be given a title, and it doesn't mean they're worthy of it. Anybody can be given a title, and quite frankly, it doesn't mean they earned it. I have to prove to each and everybody here that I deserve to be in this seat. And I have to prove daily to the sheriff that I understand what his direction is, what his orders are, and I will follow through with it. It is a very good agency, went from the very bottom to the top or the top to the bottom. We know that we can have conversations It will be followed through and we don't have to circle back. What you may not understand yet is, even though this is only an agency with 50 employees, because it goes beyond patrol, it is very refreshing to know when we give an order, verbal or other, that it's followed through and we can forget it. If I ask the lieutenant to do something, I know that he is going to act on it. If the sheriff gives me something, he knows he can move on and forget about it. That has to be the agency that we function with from the very top to the bottom and vice versa. How do we find out if we have deficiencies? If we hold everybody's hands? Because this business of law enforcement, we are solo folks that have to represent ourselves to survive and to make lawful arrests and just to basically, like I said, survive this career, which I love or I wouldn't be here. We need decorum. Do you understand where we're coming from on this?
Yes, I do.
I'm pretty certain that I've had this conversation with you too. The leaders we become are the experiences that we've had. You're not born a leader. You may have leading traits, but I assure you I have learned a lot more from piss poor leaders than I ever have good. And I'm not saying I'm a good leader. That's for the people to decide. You all and the community and anybody I interact with. Through the course of this day and the course of your career, I truly believe that you will be a leader one way or another. Doesn't mean you're going to be a supervisor, because supervision is different than leadership. There is no doubt in my mind that you have seen supervisors that were not leaders. Take these experiences and grow from them. And if you think I'm a piss poor leader, when you get the chance to be one as a supervisor, learn from your experiences and move forward with it and be the supervisor and the leader that you can be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And pick up a few tricks of the trade on the way. How do you know if somebody's following orders? There's a bunch of different ways, and I think Monday showed it. Right?
Yes.
Do you have any questions or comments about that?
No, but is there a way to turn the air off?
Yeah.
I'm like freezing now. I want to put my, did you guys get hot? You can turn it back on.
I'm naturally hot, buddy.
Well, chemo makes my hands feel like needles in it, so.
I don't know how quick it
It's okay,
changes, but
I just, trying to.
This
warm my
office?
body up.
It's terrible. Because it will be,
Miami.
it's 110 outside, and it's hot in here, and 30 outside.
I'll wait till this weekend when it drops temperature. Really cold in here.
Are you responsible for knowing and following policy?
Yes.
And orders?
Yes.
Do you realize Monday you stepped right into a violation of standard of conduct?
I didn't realize that.
Do you understand it now?
Yes, I do.
Do you realize how hard it is for somebody on light duty to inject themselves into this meeting? And by the way, have I not already told you? I think the world of you, but you don't want to be sitting here. So how about you don't?
We've had that conversation a couple times.
A couple times. And yet here we sit, and I hate white.
Looks pretty nice.
And here we sit.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
I will.
Be the leader I know you can be. And just so we have full disclosure, and it's not a power thing, I want you to understand the system. and it's not a threat. I want you to understand our system. If I tell you to go home today, I have that discretion. I have complete discretion from our sheriff. If the lieutenant says something, he has complete discretion up to that. And then he's got to come to me, and I better justify what I do and why I do it. This may not be the Army. We don't want to be the Army. We have got to have consistency in our command. We trust in our deputies to do the right thing. And if they don't understand it, we also expect them to make mistakes. But they got to ask questions. And before you ask the question, you might want to pull up a policy and read it. Because I expect you to say, yes, I know all these policies. I know how to follow orders. Monday must have been one hell of a brain fart.
I just don't think I don't think I read your sternness with Mathonka, and I should have just waited until you left to ask the question for an email to be sent out. Just like we did what LT said.
And quite frankly, I want you to understand there doesn't have to be an email on this. It was if we can't follow an order from the chief that says, and I will tell you this, Sergeant came in, he says, hey, and he was taken back by the whole interaction of you wanting to interject. He says, I'm going to send a message out. I said, you be you. This is a very simple order that was given departmental-wide, minus the detectives, because they go by different rules. If we can't, and this is frightening for a chief, and I guarantee it's frightening for a sheriff. If we can't follow a simple order, and quite frankly, common sense in my world, wear the uniform of the day unless it's court or you're told otherwise. If that has to be in writing, I'm telling you right now, we are in trouble. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
I don't think I have to put a policy out that says use our gas card. I don't think I have to put a policy out that has such simple, or an email, simple steps to follow. Don't prop open the doors and allow the public to come in. That's common sense. It's frightening if we have to put emails out for common sense, simple orders. Right? Okay, you understand you're responsible for following not only policy, but orders
Yes.
that aren't criminal or unjust. We're going to skip around because I'm going to get to the vehicle pursuit one here in a little bit. While we're there, pull up policy 1024.
Oh, good.
$10.4D. The uniform is to be worn in compliance with the specifications set forth in the department's uniform specifications that are maintained separately from the policy. Uniforms are only to be worn while on duty, while in transit to or from work, for court, or at other official department functions or events. So when I give a lawful order to everyone that the uniform shall be worn anytime you're getting paid, I would say that's fair, easy understanding that G kicks in. Because I gave the order, it's lawful. If we beat that one to death, Not everything has to be in policy. You understand that?
Yes.
It has to be a lawful order. And you were given that order, and so were others. And you decided to step into a ring of fire. Congratulations. Let's not do that again. Since you like to bring up policy all the time, which might be a flaw, I'll let you decide. Pull up policy 1028. Temporary modified duty assignments. If you go to the second page, employees seeking a temporary modified duty assignment should submit a written request to their chief deputy or the authorized designees. Did you ever send per policy a request?
I don't think. No, I think I just asked what you guys wanted me to do. I wasn't even expecting to get light duty here for cancer.
So your administration went above and beyond, and we have every right to go above and beyond as long as we can justify it. Sean, I understand you don't know me real well, but you're going to learn. I'm not one that likes to have these meetings, but I'm not afraid of them. I understand you don't know where I've been or the lieutenant. I understand you don't know our experiences. I suggest if you choose to inject yourself into situations and you decide to pull out policy as your go-to, which was a terrible decision because it was wrong. I have made a very long career of trying not to eat crow. Do me a favor, because it's actually going to be doing yourself a favor. I'm not saying you like us. You don't have to. But if you take anything away from this meeting, understand that the two people in white shirts do not like to eat crow. But when we do, we will admit to it and fall on that sword immediately. I don't know who taught you or where you picked it up. Maybe it was sitting there in the garage around, shooting shit about that. Oh, here comes Sergeant again. Let's see what that does. I don't know where you picked it up. I'm going to ask you to think about this. Before you decide to insert foot into mouth, stop. I've been here 10 months, going on 11-ish. But I've got 27 years of policy. And I've never once came to you guys and said, by policy, I just give you simple orders that fall within policy. So how long have you been on light duty?
I don't think just a month now.
So 2 paychecks on light duty.
I think so.
And on Monday, you wanted to talk about policy. And just to be perfectly clear, Chief Deputy can go above policy. I can't go below it. When you called me, I immediately talked about, with the lieutenant, I got off the phone. We were both off duty, you and I. When you called me about your situation,
Okay.
I immediately called the lieutenant and the sheriff, and I mentioned, let's do it light duty. Can we? Let's do it, and let's get an MOU because I know you don't have a lot of time. So when you bring up policy, and through the course of today and the rest of your career here, assuming it goes beyond today,
Maybe. We'll see. See how this meeting goes.
How about you learn to trust that we understand policy, and if we're wrong, we'll eat it. So you've received 2 paychecks,
I think so.
and you did not follow policy. You tracking?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is, oh, look at us. This is the right thing to do because we do love our people professionally. We think very highly of our people. If you go to the front page, temporary modified duty assignments are management's prerogative and not an employee's right. That's in policy. Chief Deputy will make recommendations through the chain. Not only do I make it through the chain, which is one person, I believe the lieutenant and I are equals when it comes to experience and compassion and operational decisions within this. Chain of command wise, yeah, he's subordinate. But I will tell you, because of my respect for this man, I will go above and beyond. And he is, if not the first or second phone call on everything. Do you understand the respect we have for each other? I'm asking you to have the same respect until, for some reason, we have done you wrong. And that'll probably be criminal. Let's hope that never happens. Don't be that guy. You can be. I'm not saying you can't. I managed 85 people. And there's always those guys that want to file grievances. And those grievances are BS. And it goes to the union. And the union ended up putting a big file with said person's name on it. And it never gets chased because they know it's a bullshit grievance. You can be that guy.
I think I filed 1 grievance in Auburn.
Your mouth is a grievance, right? It may not be an official grievance, but you can get the same reputation for being a complainer, for lawful orders. Knock it off.
Yes, sir.
You're better than that. Probationary employees under 1028.8. Probationary employees are assigned to a temporary modified duty assignment shall have their probation extended by the period of time equal to the assignment. Just a side note.
Are you guys understanding my probation? It doesn't matter to me, I'm just asking, is that what you guys are
We'll
gonna
have
do?
that discussion.
Okay.
But it's in policy, right?
Well, that's what I was asking, is that what you guys are gonna do?
We'll have that
And then
discussion.
next,
It's really hard to be in this seat when you're in probation or light duty, but congratulations. You made it.
I'll be able to help other deputies not be here. But,
But you got to understand when this is done, assuming everything goes well. Not only do I need you to help other people understand the process, knock it off.
I understand.
Payroll records. Pull up 1019. And this is the easy stuff. We'll get into this other stuff here shortly. I like to be flexible, and I've made that known. Let me ask you this, because we started an MOU about people donating time. That was done immediately also by your admin team, because we do respect all of our people, including you. I'll be right back. Payroll has to be accurate. So when I asked you, when you called me, which theoretically, by the chain, you need to go to the lieutenant, but whatever. When you send me a text and you say, I'm feeling sick, I'm at home, Those are days you gotta take time. Did you misunderstand me on that?
I don't know what you mean with you.
When you actually stay home
Right.
because you're not feeling good, you have to take time for those days. You have to burn time.
No, I knew that.
Okay,
I only texted you because LT was off. You know?
that's fine.
I wasn't trying to jump command. I just was letting.
Sean, I want you to understand I'm good with what's going on when it comes to communication. I've allowed this door to be open, and that's the way I leave. Knock your shit off. And learn to trust, and I've had this conversation with you too. Trust your command, trust your people. You definitely need to trust what the lieutenant up is saying, and quite frankly, your sergeants. I understand you've probably had some issues with a corporal. We'll deal with it. It might be a personality thing. You might have more experience in something else than the other person. Sean, I'm giving you an olive branch to knock your shit off. So you understand that when you text us or me or the lieutenant, and you say I'm staying home, you've got to take time off for that day.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any days? This has to be right because you want to know what's going to get me in trouble? Because I will fall on the sword for him. If he submits time off or we pay, there is flexibility here for the days that you're here in the county and you're not feeling good. I've made that perfectly clear. I will go out on a limb for those days. But when you're not here, we've got to submit time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What do you want me to do on that? I'm not understanding what you want me to do to submit my time. Are you wanting me to like fill out is there a written form I need to grab or? I've never taken time off because I don't have time here, so I don't know what you want me to do.
So you were never shown that process?
I was shown how to put in overtime, but I don't know how to take time off because for 8 months I was told well, we're not allowed to take time off.
Not allowed to take vacation, yeah. Okay.
We will sidebar this one, get with the lieutenant.
Okay.
So I understand you're not doing this maliciously, but I'm assuming, and I don't know, I'm assuming we got some gaps we got to correct on this before the payroll goes out.
I missed one day. It was that Friday, this pay period.
Okay. So that comes to the integrity of all of us. We've got to submit time for days that you aren't here. When you're here and you're not feeling good, Lieutenant and I'll fall on this.
That's your copy. That's going to be your copy. This is the MOU that he's talking about.
Thank you for that.
I know we kind of talked about it. I shared this with you, but the way I read this, just for clarification as we move into the future of this, you can't use any donated time until your time is used. The way it's written, I'm gonna proceed this way: that the first initial donated time now becomes your time, which means no secondary time can come in until that donated time is now used, and then. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if 4 people donate time, you're only going to get one person's time at a time. Type of thing. Okay.
Brother, we're working hard to help you on this. You ever heard the saying, don't look a gift horse in the mouth?
Maybe not really.
It's kind of an old statement, that's for sure.
Killing me.
Do you have any idea what that means? Don't take advantage of those that are giving things to you.
And this agency is giving and giving, and it's got to be a two-way street. And learning policy and learning decorum, which you should already know, knock shit off. So, since Deputy Sean Grayson likes to pull up policy, and since you wanted to insert foot in the mouth, do you remember discussing, let's pull up policy 901. Custodial searches. Do you remember the Crystal Ice Hospital shutdown?
Yes.
Crystal meth? Do you remember admitting to me, along with the other folks after that, that they're not patting down females? 901.3, field and transportation searches. Have we rectified this policy violation?
Yes.
Were you aware of this policy prior to that incident?
Yes.
Do you understand, if you choose to present, if you choose not to follow lawful orders, and in the process of inserting foot and mouth, you choose to refer a policy, you better know what that policy is. Do you know I've worked for people and agencies where the minute you inserted foot, policy violations were written up, and the officer lost time, and after enough of it, a career. Don't be that guy. I don't know how much more kind an asshole like me can be until you start catching on and changing. Right? Do you have any question about that policy violation?
No, I do not.
How about 901.4? Custody searches should be conducted at any time an individual in custody enters or re-enters a secured area, or any time in it's reasonably believed that the search is necessary to maintain the safety and security of a facility. You understand that one too?
Yes.
So let me ask you something, because here was a lawful order too. Do you understand, for example, on that incident, or any custodial arrest, that the lawful order from your chief was given that every time that you transport a person to and from the location of the arrest to the location of detention or the hospital, that vehicle, your vehicle, shall be secured and documented in a report?
I don't understand what you mean.
Have you been told? And if not, I'm telling you. First, I'll give you the order. The order is, every time you transport an individual for an in-custody arrest, it shall be documented in your field report, your case report, that your squad was checked prior to and following the transportation and arrest of said person. Were you told that?
Yes.
Who were you told that by?
You had made that clear, I believe, when we were at the meeting for the jail. When we were at the meeting for the jail, you made it very clear that we are to search before and after arrest from now on. And females, because then we went over how to search a female properly.
And then, do you understand that that is a lawful order from your chief, henceforth your agency, that will be documented and done?
Yes.
So if you violate that, there should be a reason why you didn't, right?
Yes.
And you understood that to be a lawful order.
Yes.
And then when you go back on the street, you're going to start doing that.
Yes.
Okay, just double check it.
I search my squad car always because I've had people dump meth pipes in there. Why I've been here in Auburn, that was very popular. So I just have never put in a report that before and after I have searched my vehicle.
You've done the physical part, just not ever documented what you're saying. Gotcha.
But you understand
No, I understand.
that's a lawful
Yes.
order, just like
Yes.
wearing your uniform.
Yes.
So if somebody fails to do that, not that anybody would be foolish enough to do this, but if anybody ever gets called on the table for not doing that directive, would it not be foolish for that other officer that overhears the conversation to inject themselves into a lawful order that was given by the agency?
Yes.
Who would do that? But are you going to do it from here forward? And if you ever have confusion, have I and your sergeants and everybody else, at least have I not made it perfectly clear that you can respectfully question an order if you don't understand it, or you think it's unlawful, or it just doesn't make sense?
Yes.
I've always said that. Monday was not your day. And what concerns me, apart from that, is if you can't read the temperature of the room, and I understand you're going through situations and you don't have your patrol line on because you're on light duty, I hope that when you're roadside or at a domestic, you are squared away and you're reading the temperature in the room. Because I'm not that hard of a person to read, because I don't try to be. And I need you when you're on patrol to be squared away, because I say this to every one of the deputies that have sat here or in training. When you go to that call, I need you to be squared away. You may be going through a relationship issue, a health issue. It just might be a bad day. That might be the day you had to be paying attention to all your senses. Does that make sense? That's not a policy thing. That's an experience thing. When you go to those calls, you've got to be paying attention. And I think it's fair to say I'm not that hard of a book to read, because I don't try to be. When you're out there in the world, you got to be locked in, because you missed Monday. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I think I was focused on me and Mallory's conversation and got the end of yours.
And you decided to inject yourself. Let's take a break. I'm going to go grab some more coffee, and then we'll start talking about a few of the cases. You okay?
Yeah, just cool.
So he had a disciplinary meeting with his superiors for failure to follow their directives. So I'm just confused. He had discipline, he had a general discharge from the US Army. There is alleged misconduct in the Army. It doesn't really show exactly what it was or what he did, but as a police officer, he had issues as well. I don't understand how this gentleman had a badge or a pum pum. Guys, I just wanted to share this with you. This was released by Capital News, Illinois. Um, and there's more information, I'm sure, that will be coming out about Sean Grayson. So, guys, stay tuned. I will update you as additional updates become available. That's it. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go on ahead and subscribe today. Set your notifications to all so that you're notified when I go live or add new content. All right, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Until next time.